Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Eve Galanter, and I would like to introduce Dina Nina Martinez-Rutherford, who is running for State Assembly in District 76. As we begin, I'd like you to give an opening statement as to the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have that prepares you for this office, and why are you running for the State Assembly?
Well, Eve, thank you so much for having me today. You know, I'm a small business owner, food service worker, currently in Alder here on the east side. I'm somebody who's experienced homelessness and struggled to make ends meet. And I'm running because people are being squeezed from every side right now, and things are really hard. Healthcare is too expensive. Gas is too expensive, which I can't do anything about, but people are really struggling to make ends meet, childcare, healthcare, and I thought now was the time to take the experience that I had as an alder, learning how the state impacts how we do things at the city, to put my hat in for this race. As an alder, I've helped secure over $60 million through our CDBG committee for affordable housing investments, more like $67 million. I've helped remove credit score from subsidized housing applications, which is somebody who's had bad credit. I know how hard it is to get housing, and nobody should have to worry about, their credit score when they're trying to seek housing. And I've expanded the CARES program, making sure that we have mental health care throughout our city. Right now, we're watching things just kind of devolve from a federal level, and everybody's in fear. And as a trans woman, I understand that fear. I'm watching my rights being taken away. And I'm not about to go down without a fight, without talking about what's going on in our country. And like fighting for working people for me isn't political, it's personal, because I live that experience. And every day in that building, I will fight like hell to make sure that working people and people on the margins are seen and taken care of.
Well, how would you like to see the state utilize the current budget surplus?
Well, I think we should use it to fully fund public schools, making sure that we're able to decouple from a referendum process, phase out voucher schools so that twice of our tax money isn't going to each, voucher school student instead of to public school students. And we need to make sure that we are reimbursing at least 90% of special education funding to the schools, making sure that they have the tools they need to take care of the people. And then I would make sure that we invest some of that in housing. We're experiencing untenable rise in rent and property taxes. Let's make sure people get a chance to have a house, own a house, afford rent.
Well, what guardrails, if any, would you support to protect our environment, or health, property values, and household budgets from the large projects such as hyperscale data centers and CAFOs, concentrated agricultural feeding operations?
Yeah. Well, I'm very proud to have been a driving force and a sponsor behind our First Senate State data center moratorium here in Madison, and making sure that we protect the people, that corporations aren't given billions of dollars in tax cuts to build their facilities here without the say-so of their communities, making sure that they have closed loop systems, cooling systems, so they're not depleting our natural resources, and that they're making sure they're doing it properly and not having a lot of environmental contamination. We also need to make sure that we are holding big polluters accountable. Like, we have a huge PFAS problem here in in Wisconsin. And we need to have the funds to mitigate and restore those lands and those waters and fully fund the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Let's keep our public lands public instead of having them given to major developers.
What, if anything, should the state legislature do to improve election processes and safeguard election integrity?
I mean, there are a lot of things we can do. I think we have a really good system here in Wisconsin, and I'm really proud to be able to vote and take avail of what we've built here. But we also need to make sure that we're investing in our clerks and poll workers, making sure that they know exactly how to handle every situation. We need to make sure that let's give IDs to everyone who lives in Wisconsin so they can actually vote and participate in government. You know, we keep seeing over and over across the country voter suppression tactics, and we have to make sure that here in Wisconsin, everybody is able to vote and everyone is able to avail themselves of the political system.
Now, share with our audience an example of an effort with which you have been involved that demonstrates how you can be effective in creating policy change.
Well, I think when we look at housing, we are always thinking about what we can do within the confines of the state. And one of the things that I was really excited to do is to bring the cottage court zoning to Madison. Cottage courts are on almost any property. As long as it's big enough, you can put up to 8 smaller footprint houses. And I think about all of my friends who are like, let's get a bunch of land up in the North Woods and build a little commune or a little village and live together in community. Well, now in Madison, you can do that. You know, you can get a little property and still have the conveniences of a city here. And then the other thing was not even legislative, but like the credit score, removing credit score from subsidized housing applications. You know, lived experience really matters when you are legislating for working people, when you know what it feels like to have the struggles and fights that most of the people do every day.
So what other priorities do you have that we may not have already addressed?
Badger care for all. Anecdotally, I hear stories all the time of people who are choosing not to take care of their bodies because they can't afford to go into crippling debt just to be well. We need a system, a public option where people can avail themselves of health care and take care of themselves and their families without worrying about losing their homes or being able to feed their families. We need health care. And I hear that cry from everyone across the country, but especially here in Wisconsin. You know, as somebody who's worked in the food service industry for most of her life, I haven't had health care. I currently don't have health care. And I just am always concerned about what could happen and what it would do to me financially, you know? And that is unconscionable, that people have to choose to pay their rent over taking care of themselves for the long term.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
Well, it's been an honor over the last 3 years to serve as the alder of District 15 here in Madison. I'm so grateful of what I've learned as far as how government works, but also what I've learned about the community and what I've learned about myself. And going through what we are experiencing right now, everybody should feel like they belong. And as a transgender woman, I know we're struggling. We're watching our rights being just taken away. And we haven't ever had representation in that building. And very few times do we see our own faces and our own voices at the table. And I always say this, but you know, I've been on the menu. I'm ready to be at the table.
Well, I want to thank Dina Nina Martinez-Rutherford for speaking with us, and thank our viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone that primary day is Tuesday, August 11, and every election is important. Please vote. On behalf of the Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.